things that we may not control, it gives us the capacity to change something. Okay? I often say I can determine how someone will be successful in life by how they get off an aeroplane. Who's heard me talk about that before? So you say, what the hell are you talking about? Well, think about this. If you fly, these days most people fly in planes a lot, and this is how I can determine how likely someone is to be successful in life just by watching the way they get off an aeroplane. Here's what most people will do. When the plane lands, they're usually unbuckling their seat well before the seatbelt sign comes on. Is that true? They're eager, wanting to get off the plane as quickly as possible. They're rushing to get their bags down, trying to push ahead of other people, etc., because they want to get off the plane as quickly as possible. Is that the behavior someone's likely to be successful in life? Yes or no? Some of you are not sure, because some of you are going, I'd do that, okay? I'm going to suggest to you, no. If I'm on a plane, I will sit there calmly, keep reading the paper, etc. And why? Because I know there's no point undoing my seatbelt too early. There's no point me rushing up to get my bags off, etc. Because why? I know it makes no difference. Because I'm not going to get off that plane until the door opens and you're able to then get off. So most people, the analogy is this, most people spend most of their life stressing and putting their energy on things they have no control over. Does that make sense? Like trying to get off the plane sooner than you can. They are wasting precious energy on things they don't control. Where successful people that are smart enough to figure it out go, there's no point wasting my energy on things I don't control. There's a lot of things in life you don't control. I know as control freaks, we don't like that, but that's life. We have to take that energy back and take our power back and go, hang on a minute, I'm going to save my energy for the things that I do control. I control whether I try and rush to undo my seat and rush off, or I control whether I just relax here and wait until I'm going to get off anyhow. Does it make sense? Just like you go into the share market. People go into the share market. I want to be successful. They have a goal. They're so attached to the goal. They're so rigid, no flexibility. They're so attached to it. It's got to work. It's got to work. And they buy a share. And it's like then they're hoping. They're praying. They're praying to God the share price goes up. I'm thinking, is it God's responsibility for you to be successful in the share market? Yes or no? You're praying to God the share market goes up. Someone else is praying to God on the other side of the world the share market goes down. What's God meant to do about it? It's not God's job to have you successful in the share market. God has already given you God-given talents for you to be successful. Does that make sense? In other words, we're not giving our power away. Sure, pray, but don't buy a share and then pray and hope it does something. What are you now doing? You're putting your energy into something you don't control. You're wasting your time. Where what you want to be is you might say, my goal is to make $10,000 a month. That's a goal. You have to let go of the attachment to it. And say, okay, if I buy this share, I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to be accountable and responsible that I know before I buy the share that it can go up, down, or sideways. I'm going to accept and be responsible for that. I'm not going to live in hope. Because people who live in hope usually die in desperation. I'm not going to live in hope. I've taken action, I've faced my fears, but I'm accountable, receptible that it can go up, down, or sideways. I don't control that. And I let go of the outcome. My goal is still to make, say, $10,000 a month, and that's what I want to achieve, but I'm letting go of the outcome. I'm not trying to be attached to it, because life doesn't work by trying to force things to happen. True? Who's tried that before? Trying to force things to happen. You've got to be able to surrender, let go. Be clear intent. This is my goal. This is what I want to have. It's my clear intention. I've stated it. I've written it down. This is my strategy, how I intend to go about doing it. I let go. Then all I do is I wait and see what happens. Then when something happens, the share price might go up or down or sideways. Whatever happens, I'm not panicking because it's pointless. I just see what happens and I'll respond to what happens. So now I'm taking charge of what I can control. Do I control, will I have insurance on that share beforehand, yes or no? That's what I control. I don't control what the market does. And if you do ever figure out how to control the market, you're going to go straight to jail anyhow. So stop trying to control things. Let it go. Let it go. You don't control it, and you better not control it, okay? So you let it go, and you are now taking charge. Okay, if this happens, I'm going to do this. You could even preempt. If the share price goes up, could you preempt and go, if it goes up by 20%, I'm selling at 20%. Could you preset that, yes or no? That's being proactive. That's preempting. Because other people might go up 20% and go, oh, I better not sell now and take my profits because it might go even higher. That's okay, but what is your game plan before? So you can work out all these things before. You're being a proactive, accountable, responsible, action-orientated individual. Living above the line doesn't guarantee you success, but it does put the odds heavily in your favor. Repeat after me. Something to think about. This is so critical when you're going to be investing and doing everything, of letting go of the attachment. Then you can preempt all those things. You have insurance, or you could do a strategy. I don't care if the share price goes up. I'm just after the cash flow, the rental from it. And that's what I'm after. Share price can do whatever, but you're preempting it, you're stacking the odds heavily in your favor, and you're letting go of the emotional attachment. Okay? That's why in times of panic, you'll see the most successful people are still taking action. They're not locked in fear. It's like, why is it when in a country road, someone's driving along a road, there's no trees around for 100 kilometres, and then there's a car accident, they run into the only tree in 100 kilometres, or the only telegraph pole? How do they manage to do that? Because it's what you focus on is what's going to happen. Is it true? Someone's driving along the road and it gets slippery or something, and they start to lose control. What do they focus on? Shit, I better not hit the tree. I better not hit the telegraph pole. Shit. You know, they're like looking at it and where they end up. It's where we've got to watch our fears. Our fears, we've got to like recognize them, and not just like, if the red light for low oil comes on your dashboard, you don't go smash that thing and get rid of it. That doesn't solve the problem, does it? It's a warning sign. It's like fear is a warning sign. It's a signal. It's beneficial. You walk to the edge of a cliff. Are you glad you have some fear? It's a warning sign. You better change your approach, otherwise this is what can happen. Make sense? That's what fear is. Use fear as a guiding force, not as a paralyzing force. Hey, that's a good one. Team, jot that one down. Did you hear what I said? Use fear as a guiding force, not as a paralyzing force. In other words, it's not a message from God, don't do anything. It's a recognition that, hey, be careful, this is what can happen, make sure you know what you're doing, maybe change your approach, and guide you towards the safe destination. Making sense? So, and we'll talk about that in a moment as far as our emotions that we want to use, what stops us, what helps us. So living above the line. I was telling you something before that. Who can remember? What was I talking about before that? Oh, the icebergs. Icebergs, belief systems. The other things that affect our life a lot is what we value the most. Is that true? We value different things. Some of you value relationships ahead of financial success. That will change your life. Is that true? You might value your health above money. You might value health above relationships. So all what you value the most in life will obviously have a determinant on your life. Okay? Your skills. If you become more skillful at something, that will help improve your life. True? All these things, skills, what you value, what your belief systems are, have a big impact on your life. But there's something underneath the water that most people neglect. So you can go to work and change your belief systems and you start making progress. You can reorder your values in line with what's really in alignment with, so you're congruent, what you value the most, and you focus on that. You can improve, enhance your skills, your life's improving. But the biggest thing that's going to determine your success long term is what's underneath here. Would you like to know what's underneath the water? Yes or no? Yes. So what's under here, jot this down. The word you're after is environment. What determines most of your success long term is your environment. What do you mean by that, Jamie? I mean it's for the environment you put yourself in on a day-to-day basis. The environment of where you work, the environment of who you spend most of your time with, your family environment, the people you associate with. Your environment will determine the most determinant of your success long term. Is that important, yes or no? So you look at the most successful people, what they've done is they've put themselves in an environment where they perform. Let's use the analogy of a tennis player again. A young tennis player wanting to make it, where should they go? Should they go to a tennis camp by top tennis coaches and be in an environment with other successful tennis players, yes or no? Yes. That would generally be they put themselves in an environment where they have to be surrounded by people that are better than them, because that inspires them to be greater and gives them coaching and mentoring, etc. Like a young football star. They'll recruit them, they'll put them around and they get to train with other players, and that will help with that environment to make them a better footballer. Okay? So that environment is critical to improving your performance. But here's what most people do in Australia, is money creates a lot of insecurity. So out there are some people watching you right now. They know you've been doing things, you've been studying maybe late at night, watching a lot of DVDs, or you're starting to do investment strategies, and they're watching you. They're watching you for two reasons. One, some people watching you because they want you to fall flat on your face. Fail miserably, because that will make them very comfortable. Does that mean they're bad people, yes or no? They might even be people that care about you. But what they want is that some of them don't want you to be successful, because if you become successful, they will feel even more insecure, because perhaps they don't have the courage or the guts to actually face their fears and take some action and do some of the things that could lead them to their dreams, but you do. So if you fail, then that makes them feel more comfortable, because they knew, I shouldn't have tried anyhow, there's no point. It keeps their map of the world, their blueprint of the world, the way they see the world, it shouldn't have to change. There's other people that are wanting you to be successful. They're in the minority, unfortunately. The minority, they want you to succeed because they know if you can succeed, if you can do it, they then have a reference and a belief then, hey, if he or she can do it, then I can do it. And you become their reference point. Who's following what I'm saying here? Now, I dare say many of you in the room already are circles, you're an influence in your circle, your peer group, and there's probably a lot of people coming on the journey with you to learn, be more motivated, to learn these strategies, or other people watching you and hoping that you succeed because they want to come on the journey too. Who's finding that's true for yourself? Yeah. And puts a little bit of pressure on you. There's other people that don't really want you to succeed because it's going to make them uncomfortable. So what a lot of people do is they will deliberately hang out with people they're doing better than financially. That way they can justify they're doing great, and then with people that are doing worse than them. And that way they feel good. It makes them feel significant and overcomes their insecurity, or they think it does. Making sense? Where what you want to do if you want to excel in life is you want to continually jump into a pond where you're the small fish and other people are doing better than you. Make sense? You want to continue being that because that sets new standards for you, and hanging around those people is going to raise your standards. Like a lot of you this weekend, if all you get out of the next 4 days is that you're going to meet some people, hear from different references of people that have achieved amazing things financially and other aspects of their life, you're going to go, my God, I thought I was doing well, but I can do so much better. I could raise my standards. I'm setting my goals too small. I'm holding back. There is so much more that's possible in my life. And that reference will give you just that shift in expectation and commitment. You go out of here with a higher standard for yourself, and just that alone can help you produce far greater results. Who's following what I'm saying here? And for a lot of you, they already found that to be true by just for association. The point is, environment is everything. By putting yourself in an environment that supports you, that holds you to a higher standard, a peer group that supports you on your goals will continually support you, and you'll move in the direction where you want to go. But if you don't have that, some people say, well, that's all right for you, Jamie. You have a great peer group. You hang around with great people. They're highly motivated. But what if my friends are all broke and miserable? What should I do? What should you do? Dump your friends, exactly. No, I'm not saying that you should dump your friends. I'm saying you might want to choose your friends more consciously. Not necessarily choose your friends, but choose who you hang around most of your time. Robert Kiyosaki used to say he could determine how much someone earns or what they're worth by simply finding out the 5 closest people they associate with, jot down their income or net worth of those 5 people, add it all up and divide it by 5. And that's about what someone will be worth. Think about that. Maybe you want to do that in the dinner break. Think about the 5 people you associate with the most. Okay, don't count kids. Okay, that might lower your average. 5 people you associate with the most, roughly estimate what they earn or what their net worth is, add it all up by 5 and then divide it by 5, and there's a fair chance you'll probably be that average of that figure. Does it make sense? So when I thought about that, I started to seek out people that were doing better than me that I could learn off. Not just people that are going to make me feel comfortable because I'm just like them or I'm doing okay compared to them. Because a lot of people will compare themselves to others. Well, you know, my problem's not that bad. I'm not doing that bad compared to such and such. Okay? And that's a poor standard. We want to have a high standard. And it's not about, you know, how well you do financially and being better than someone else. It's not about that. It's about you being the best you can be in anything you do. Why hold yourself back? Because if you had more financial abundance in your life, could you do better things with that? Yes or no? Could you make a bigger difference in this world? Yes or no? So what is you playing small? Is that going to help anyone? Is it going to help you? It's going to help your family? So there's no point in playing small. There's no point in saying, well, I don't really need a lot of money. Good. If you don't need a lot of money, get off your ass, make as much as you can, and give it to charity or help other people. Is that fair enough? You've got the God-given gift of living in this country, an abundant country, where you should take advantage of that and use that gift, that opportunity to make a difference to the world. Who agrees with that? Raise your hand, make some noise. Because life is not just about you, it's about how you can contribute and make a bigger difference. So let's face it, if it's not, one of my mentors, earliest mentors said, Jamie, if you want to help the poor, guess what? Don't be one of them. If you want to help the poor, don't be one of them. If you're rich, you have a greater capacity to help other people. Rich not just in money terms, but also rich in spiritual terms, as far as rich of who you are as a person. Rich and generous of what you want to do. And the whole key when we talk about that tomorrow as far as contribution, if you can tap into that higher purpose, that energy of saying what you want to do and have big goals of what you want to do about commitment and serving the community and making a bigger difference, you will tap into so much natural motivation and so much extra drive and capacity that you'll smash through your goals. You'll achieve so much more because it's no longer about you, is it? It's about a greater cause. And if you look at the most successful people, they tap into that. They have a mission for their life. They have a purpose for their life. Their life has meaning. Where the least successful people, their life has little or no meaning, little or no purpose, little or no focus towards contribution and making a difference. True? So what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to go through a process which some of you may have already started in the home study, which I call your primary purpose. While I'll take you through that, I'll walk you through that. It's so critical. Before I could ever become a millionaire or create a lot of the things I want in my life, I had to start and get serious about what I wanted to do in my life. I had to get clear about what I wanted my purpose to be about, what I wanted my life to stand for. I documented, I wrote it all down, I got clear about that, and that was the foundation that I built my life on. The foundation, my primary, one of my number one values for me in life to be happy is to make a difference. For me, if I'm not making a difference, I don't feel as fulfilled. So I'm naturally driven to have to do things to make a difference. If I don't feel I'm getting an impact or making a difference, then I won't feel fulfilled as I could be. Does that make sense? When I feel like I'm making a difference and making progress, etc., then that leads to greater fulfillment. Who's following what I'm saying here? Okay, so everyone is different what you value, but for me that's been a big driving force is making a difference. Okay, so as a result, that affects my life. And what I did was change this environment. So I talk about on the home study, I talk about what I did many years ago is I moved suburbs. If you want to change your life, change some things in your life. I used to live in Western Sydney in a suburb called Campbelltown. No offense to those folks that are listening from Campbelltown. Great place, but I decided to move. Because, good. Campbelltown is Western Sydney. You walk down the main street of Campbelltown, it's a different energy if you walk down the main street of Mossman in Sydney. True? So what I did was I moved suburbs. I moved to Balmoral, which is right next to Mossman. Now, I'm not saying I spent more money than I needed to. I was able to get a 2-bedroom apartment many years ago, but it had views of the ocean overlooking Balmoral Beach and completely changed my environment. So instead of being in an environment that really wasn't supporting me, I moved to an environment every morning I'd walk along the beach, sit down on the rocks, the waves would come crashing in on Sydney Harbour, and that's how I'd start my day. And by doing that, just being at a sort of, I guess it's a form of meditation, that just that peace of mind, that clearness, the clarity. It's almost like I was tapping into what we call the infinite intelligence. I was letting my mind be clear and ideas while I was in that state of relaxation or meditation, and in nature, ideas would flow to me. Clearness of thought, and as a result, that completely changed my life. Because I'm now starting to tap into my creativity. A question I was asked the other day in radio is how important is imagination? Because Albert Einstein was a big believer in that. Imagination is very critical for Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill, there's a whole one of his keys is the ability to imagine. Imagination is creativity. The most successful people, whether they're successful entrepreneurs or artists, musicians, sports people, they're able to tap into their creativity and come up with new ideas and new inventions and new improvements to the world. Now that creativity is actually tapping into what, you want to jot this down, what we refer to as the infinite intelligence. In other words, tapping into the universal wisdom, the consciousness of mankind, or the universal consciousness, where there's solutions and ideas and answers to virtually every question you have or any problem that you face. In other words, most people are trying to do it themselves. By putting in a state of meditation or state of creativity, you can access the resources of the infinite intelligence. Making sense? Even if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. It means that you are not the center of the universe. Has anyone figured that out yet? You know, as kids, when we're born, we cry, we get attention. Doesn't matter what we do, we get attention. We feel like we are the center of the universe. And then our parents go and have siblings. That ruins our world. Because now we have to compete with brothers and sisters for love and attention. So then we come up with very clever ways to manipulate our parents into giving us more love ahead of our brothers or sisters. True? Some of us become intimidators, intimidate other people to ensure that that's the way we get our attention. Others become more poor me, feel sorry for me. You don't realize how bad my life is, so I get more love that way. True? Other people do that. Other people just become aloof or sort of don't really care. They really do care, but they make out they don't really care. We all develop these emotional patterns of the way that we go to get our needs met. Okay? And often we're doing this unconsciously as a child, and we grow up, and often we still run these patterns as an adult, and we wonder why it doesn't quite work for us. But eventually, at some point, when we're sent off to school, we start to figure out that we may have thought we were the center of the universe and were a little baby because we got all the attention. We now realize we are not the center of the universe. There's lots of other little kids competing, and we're in a world where we realize we're one of many, and we accept we're not. So my point is, in saying that, is that if we can accept whether that there's a greater force than you and I, who's willing to accept that? Now, if you're religious, you'd have your religious beliefs. If you're spiritual, you have your spiritual beliefs. If you're an atheist, you still have to have some belief. In other words, the idea that there's a power greater than us. And if we can tap into that, whatever you label that, whatever you understand it, all you have to accept is you are not the center of the universe. Has everyone figured that out yet? Okay? So the key is to be able to understand that, and all great people, great inventors, great artists, great entrepreneurs, they've been able to tap into this infinite wisdom. But it only comes if we're so caught up in making a living, we're so stressed out trying to survive in our material world, that a lot of those great insights, great ideas don't flow to us because we're blocking off. It's imagine you're watching TV and you're on a channel that's all hazy because the stress makes it all hazy, you're not getting the proper transmission. A lot of people are living their life that way, where you can fine-tune sensory acuity, adjust the signal, and all of a sudden you get a clear signal. And then